Okay, functions. Let's talk about functions. Okay, we had polynomials. Linear. Right? Linear. You either look like that or like that. So this is a positive x in your function, and this would have a negative x in your function, right? What's the name of the next one? Quadratic. Do I have to write cheat sheet notes about domain and range? Or do you? On your exam, you could write whatever you want, but I would assume if they write some questions, they would probably make it look like this format. Okay, so this one, you might be asked, well, the domain would be the same, right? The domain goes on. The range would be different, right? So this range would be some number to infinity or negative infinity to some number, right? Depending on how it's positioned. A number and up, this is negative infinity to a number. So y is above or equal to a number, or y is below or equal to a number. Okay, so please remember in your screen, these are the orders, right? Linear, quadratic, so then we have a cubic and a quartic would be the next two. So cubic, quartic. Okay, so those are your visuals. I'm not going to write range and domain stuff because it's very similar to those ones now, right? Kind of figure those ones out. Cubic would be very much like the linear because it's an odd and the evens are the same. Okay, what other functions did we then learn? We learned exponential. exponential. What do you know about the base of an equation? When it draws a picture like this, what's going on with the base? It's because this is above 1. You're going to grow, right? Remember that? If the base is above 1, it's appreciating, it's growing. And if the base is below 1, you're going to drop. What do you know about domain and range of exponentials? Domain is the forever. You're going left and right. But range is going to be round bracket 0, because you're never going to hit that 0. So then we did logarithmic, or the ln button. So that down here. Please don't mistake it for ln. It's ln, right? ln, not lin. So make sure you got that down pat, ln. So ln x would look like that. Or negative ln x, just flips it. I think that was basically the only two you would see. Then, what do we have about domain and range? What do you always know about the domain and range of this compared to that? They switch, right? So the domain of this would be the range of that one. Okay, so on your exam, I've seen a few questions that say which function would have a domain and range like this, and then you have to figure out, well, which function could potentially have that. Okay, so then we had sinusoidal. So I'm just going to draw you like an example here. Sinusoidal. And we need to put a star on your cheat sheet here. There's something important when you're doing sinusoidal equations and you're trying to graph them. Your mode. Do you remember that? So you have this button called mode. When you do this, it has to be in radians. Well, depending on the equation, but radians, when you're working with like all that stat edit stuff, radian mode. Okay, so what if I did this to you? I put a 7 and a -1 on my axis like that. Okay, so I could say the range is -1 to 7. What's in the middle then? What's the middle height of all this? 3? Is that what you said? That's where I'm getting it from. What's in the middle? Amplitude. You probably want to know that word on your exam. What is amplitude?
The height from the middle to the top or the bottom.
Yeah, the height you are away from the middle. So how much height am I away from the middle? 4. I'm either going above the middle by 4 or below the middle by 4. Okay, and then we have the word period. A period is how long it takes you to go through a cycle, right? So from the bottom to the next bottom, on this one it took me 4. Okay, and then we need to write that little tiny formula we've used over and over again. 2 pi over b equals period. Or 2 pi over period equals b. You can just move that around as well. Okay. I think that could be most of the cheat sheet stuff. Okay, how does that feel with putting that stuff on there? I think that's most of the stuff we've covered, right? Polynomials, exponent logs, sinusoidal.